March 15, 2007. Sarah and Michael Rodriguez stood in their uncle's farmyard looking at 300 acres of neglected Iowa farmland and 2 broken tractors. Their uncle Ramon had died 2 weeks ago, age 76, no wife, no children, left everything to his niece and nephew. Sarah was 32, corporate accountant in Chicago, made $86,000 annually, hated her job, dreamed of different life. Michael was 28, construction worker in Des Moines, made $42,000 annually, back problems starting, knew he couldn't do physical labor forever. The lawyer had been clear. Ramon left you the farm, 300 acres, the equipment, the house. It's worth maybe $350,000 total. Land is worth about $1,000 per acre. Equipment is mostly junk. House needs work. Sarah walked through the old farmhouse. 1942 construction. Needed new roof. Plumbing issues. Electrical outdated. But solid bones. Could be saved. Michael examined the equipment. 2 tractors, both broken. 1964, John Deere. Engine seized. Transmission shot. 1972 International. Hydraulics dead. Tires flat. Both probably worth more as scrap than as equipment. 1 disc. Rusty but maybe salvageable. 1 old planter. Missing parts. 1 ancient combine. Hadn't run in years. What do you think? Sarah asked. Michael shrugged. We could sell it. Split the money. I could use $175,000. Pay off my truck. Get out of debt. Maybe buy a small house. Or we could try farming it. Sarah laughed. We don't know anything about farming. I'm an accountant. You're a construction worker. Neither of us has ever farmed. Uncle Ramon did it. For 50 years. Uncle Ramon grew up farming. We grew up in suburbs. It's different. Michael walked to the field edge. 300 acres. All tillable. Good Iowa soil. Just neglected. Ramon had been too old to farm properly last 5 years. Rented it out to neighbors who took advantage. Didn't maintain it. Extracted value. Left it degraded. I'm tired of construction, Michael said. My back hurts. My knees hurt. I'm 28 and feel 50. I need different work. So we farm, with no experience, no working equipment, no money. We try. If it doesn't work after a year, we sell. But we try first. Sarah thought about her corporate job. The cubicle. The meaningless meetings. The soul-crushing routine. She made decent money but was miserable. 1 year, she said. We give it 1 year. If we can make it work, we continue. If not, we sell. They shook hands. Decision made. Week 1 was reality check. They had no money to buy equipment. Couldn't afford seed. Couldn't afford fertilizer. Couldn't afford anything. Sarah's savings, $14,000. Michael's savings, $800. Combined, $14,800. They needed at minimum working tractor, $15,000 used, planter, $8,000 used, seed for 300 acres, $18,000, fertilizer, $12,000, chemicals, $6,000, fuel, $4,000, total, $63,000. They had $14,800, short by $48,200. Bank wouldn't lend. No farming experience, no collateral beyond the land, too risky. Sarah and Michael sat at the kitchen table doing math. Couldn't make it work. Numbers didn't add up. Then Michael had idea. What if we fix the tractors ourselves? They're completely broken. I know engines. I've rebuilt truck engines. Tractor engines are simpler. If I can get them running, we save $30,000 right there. That's still $18,000 short for inputs. We farm smaller. Not all 300 acres. Just whatever we can afford with $14,000. Maybe 100 acres. Build from there. Sarah ran numbers. 100 acres of corn, if they did everything themselves. Seed, $6,000. Fertilizer, $4,000. Chemicals, $2,000. Fuel, $1,500. MISC, $500. Total, $14,000. Exactly their budget, but that assumed free equipment, which meant Michael had to fix the tractors. How long to fix them? Sarah asked. If I work full-time, maybe 2 months for both. If I can get parts cheap. Planting is in 5 weeks. Then I better start tomorrow. Michael quit his construction job. No more income. They were betting everything on fixing 2 broken tractors and farming 100 acres. Sarah kept her job in Chicago, worked remotely when possible, quit in June after planting. They needed her accounting skills to manage finances carefully. Week 2 through 8. Michael worked 18 hours daily, tearing apart engines, cleaning parts, finding salvage replacements, learning as he went. The '64 John Deere had seized engine. Michael soaked it in penetrating oil for a week, manually worked pistons loose, replaced rings, new gaskets, rebuilt carburetor, changed all fluids. 6 weeks in, John Deere started. Ran rough, but ran. Michael adjusted timing, cleaned fuel system, got it running smoothly. The '72 International had hydraulic failure. Michael rebuilt entire system. New pump from salvage yard, new lines, new seals. Cost $340 total. 8 weeks in, International ran. Both tractors operational. Total invested, $1,800 in parts. Both tractors worth maybe $12,000 combined now. Saved $10,000, but they'd burned 2 months. Planting season was here. Late planting meant lower yields. Every day mattered. Week 9. Sarah and Michael planted 100 acres of corn. Used Uncle's old planter, missing some parts but functional. Took them 12 days working dawn to midnight. Neighbors with modern equipment could have done it in 2 days. But they finished. 100 acres planted. Invested $14,000 total. Now they waited. Summer was work. Corn needed cultivation, spraying, monitoring. Sarah and Michael did everything themselves. No hired help. No custom operators. Just 2 people farming 100 acres the hard way. Sarah managed finances obsessively. Tracked every dollar, every expense. They were living on her remaining savings. Barely surviving. Michael maintained equipment constantly. The old tractors broke frequently. He fixed them. Learned more each time. August. Corn looked good. Not great. Late planting hurt, but decent. Maybe 130 bushels per acre. Below county average of 165, but acceptable for first-year farmers. September, harvest. Uncle's old combine barely worked. Michael spent 3 weeks getting it operational, then harvested slowly. 12 days to combine 100 acres. Neighbors did it in 1, but they finished. 100 acres harvested, 13,000 bushels of corn total. Corn price, $3.40 per bushel. Gross revenue, $44,200, minus $14,000 in inputs, $30,200 profit. Sarah and Michael sat at the kitchen table looking at the numbers. $30,000 profit from 100 acres. We did it, Sarah said. We actually did it. What if we farm more next year? Michael suggested. We've got the equipment working now. We know what we're doing. What if we farm all 300 acres? Sarah ran projections. 300 acres at similar yields and prices, $90,000 profit, minus living expenses, still $60,000 to invest back. We could do it, but we need more equipment. Can't plant 300 acres with that old planter. Takes too long. We've got $30,000. We could buy a better planter, used but better. They invested the profits. Better planter, $12,000. Better disc, $8,000. Repairs and improvements, $10,000. Year 2, 2008, planted 250 acres. Couldn't quite do all 300 yet, but close. Yields improved, 145 bushels per acre. Better planning, better timing, learning. 250 acres at 145 bushels, 36,250 bushels. Corn price, $4.20, higher than prior year. Gross revenue, $152,250. Input costs scaled up, $37,000. Profit, $115,250. Sarah and Michael paid themselves $40,000 to live on. Invested $75,000 back into operation. Bought more equipment. Better combine, $40,000. Better tractor, $25,000. Working capital reserve, $10,000. Year 3, 2009. Farmed all 300 acres. Modern equipment now. Productive operation. Yields, 155 bushels per acre. County average was 168. They were closing the gap. 300 acres at 155 bushels, 46,500 bushels. Corn price, $3.70, down from prior year, but still profitable. Gross revenue, $172,050. Input costs, $48,000. Profit, $124,050. They were making it work. 3 years in. Farm was profitable. They'd gone from broke with broken tractors to running legitimate operation. But they weren't satisfied with status quo. 300 acres was small. To really succeed long-term, they needed to scale. Opportunity came in 2010. Neighbor announced retirement, selling 400 acres. Price, $1,200,000, $3,000 per acre. Fair but expensive. Sarah and Michael had saved $180,000 from 3 years of profits. Not nearly enough. They approached Farm Credit Services, applied for loan. Loan officer reviewed their operation. 3 years of profitable farming, good yields, smart management, approved them for $700,000 at 6.5% interest, combined with their $180,000 saved, $880,000, still short by $320,000. Sarah proposed solution. We ask seller to finance $320,000 at 7% over 10 years. We pay him directly. We get the land, he gets ongoing income stream. Michael negotiated with retiring neighbor. Neighbor agreed. Deal closed. Rodriguez operation now, 700 acres total. Debt, $1,020,000. But assets worth approximately $2 million. Land value had risen to $2,800 per acre average. Year 4, 2010. First year farming 700 acres. Scaled operation. Hired 1 employee. Bought more equipment. Yields, 160 bushels per acre. At county average now. 700 acres at 160 bushels. 112,000 bushels. Corn price, $4. Recovery from recession. Gross revenue, $448,000. Input costs scaled, $98,000. Labor, 1 employee, $35,000. Equipment costs, $42,000. Debt service, $82,000 annually. Profit, $191,000. Sarah and Michael paid themselves $70,000 to live on. Invested $121,000 back. Bought more land, small 40-acre parcel adjacent to existing property. Paid cash, $112,000. Year 5 through 10, 2011 through 2016. Growth continued. Smart decisions, careful management, strategic expansion. By 2016, total land, 1,040 acres, total debt, $860,000, paid down significantly. Land value, approximately $4,160,000. Land prices rose to $4,000 per acre average. Equipment value, $600,000. Total net worth, approximately $3,900,000. Sarah was 41. Michael was 37. They'd gone from inheriting 300 acres and 2 broken tractors to building nearly $4 million operation. But the real transformation was personal. Sarah left corporate world permanently, became full-time farmer and farm manager, found purpose in the work, the land, the growth. Michael's back still hurt, but different kind of hurt. Hard work instead of meaningless labor. Satisfying instead of soul-crushing. They'd built something, from nothing, through skill, effort, smart decisions. Year 11, 2017. Major decision. Sarah and Michael discussed selling. Could retire wealthy. $4 million net worth, could generate comfortable living through investments. But they'd built something special. Profitable operation. Efficient, well-managed, growing. They decided to keep farming. Keep growing. Keep building. Instead of selling, they incorporated. Rodriguez Agricultural Enterprises. Professional operation. Hired manager. Expanded into custom farming services. Year 12 through 15, 2018 through 2021. Continued expansion. Added custom farming division. Farmed for others. Generated additional revenue. By 2021, owned land, 1,200 acres. Custom farmed, 800 acres for others. Total operation, 2,000 acres managed. Employees, 12. Revenue, $1.8 million annually. Net profit, $640,000 annually. Total net worth, approximately $6.2 million. COVID pandemic actually helped. Commodity prices surged. Demand for food increased. Farming was essential industry. Sarah and Michael weathered pandemic better than most businesses. Agriculture adapted. They thrived. Year 16, 2022. Private equity firm approached with offer. Wanted to buy operation. Offered $8.5 million. Sarah and Michael considered life-changing money. They could retire at 47 and 43, never work again, but they loved the work now, loved building, growing, managing. They declined, kept farming. March 15, 2023. 16 years to the day since inheriting Uncle's farm. Sarah and Michael stood in the same farmyard. But everything was different. 16 years ago, 300 neglected acres, 2 broken tractors, 14,800 in savings. No experience, no equipment, no future. Today, 1,200 owned acres, 2,000 managed acres, 12 employees, 1.8 million annual revenue, 6.2 million net worth. Successful agricultural enterprise. Sarah reflected. Remember standing here 16 years ago, looking at those broken tractors, thinking we were crazy to try farming? Michael laughed. I remember thinking we'd fail within 6 months. Sell everything. Go back to our old jobs. What made us succeed? Work ethic. We outworked everyone. 18-hour days for years. Smart decisions. We didn't waste money. Invested every dollar back into growth. Patience. We didn't expect overnight success. Built slowly, steadily. Each other. I couldn't have done this alone. You fixed everything. I managed finances. Together, we made it work. They walked through their operation. Modern shop, new equipment, professional office, employees working efficiently. The original farmhouse was restored. Beautiful. Maintained lovingly. Reminder of where they started. The 2 broken tractors sat in shop corner. Restored, displayed, never used anymore, but honored. Symbols of beginning. Sarah touched the '64 John Deere. This tractor changed our lives. Michael spent 2 months fixing it. If he'd failed, we'd have sold everything. I was terrified, Michael admitted. Had no idea if I could fix it. Just knew we couldn't afford to buy one. So I had to make it work. And you did. That tractor planted our first 100 acres. Made us $30,000 profit first year. That $30,000 bought better equipment, which let us farm more, which made more profit. Snowball effect. All started with you fixing this tractor. The transformation wasn't just financial, was personal, professional, spiritual. Sarah had escaped corporate hell, found meaningful work, built something lasting. Michael had escaped physical labor that was destroying his body. Found work that was hard but purposeful. They'd built wealth, but more importantly, built lives they loved, work they valued, legacy they were proud of. Their story spread through farming community. The Rodriguez siblings inherited 300 acres and 2 broken tractors, built $6 million operation in 16 years. Young people asked how they did it. Sarah's answer: start with what you have. We had broken equipment and no money. We fixed the equipment ourselves, farmed what we could afford, made profit, reinvested, grew slowly, didn't try to get rich quick, built steadily over years. Michael's answer: outwork everyone. First 5 years, I worked 18 hours daily. Sarah worked same. Nobody outworked us. That gave us edge over farmers with better equipment and more experience. Combined answer: find partner you trust. We're siblings. We trust each other completely. I handle operations. Sarah handles finances. Neither interferes with other's domain. Trust and division of labor made us efficient. The numbers told the story. Year 1, 100 acres, 30,000 profit. Year 3, 300 acres, 124,000 profit. Year 10, 1,040 acres, 3.9 million net worth. Year 16, 2,000 acres managed, 6.2 million net worth average annual growth, 39% in land, 41% in net worth. But beyond numbers was the transformation. From broke corporate worker and construction laborer to successful agricultural entrepreneurs. From inheriting broken tractors to building multi-million-dollar operation. From no experience to respected farmers. From scared and uncertain to confident and capable. That transformation took 16 years. 16 years of work, learning, growing, building. No shortcuts, no lucky breaks, no windfalls. Just consistent effort compounded over time. Sarah wrote about their journey for Farm Journal in 2023. 16 years ago, my brother and I inherited 300 acres and 2 broken tractors. We were accountant and construction worker. No farming experience, no working equipment, 14,000 in savings. Everyone said sell, take the money, move on. Farming is dying. Small operations can't compete. You'll fail. We tried anyway. Michael fixed the tractors through sheer determination. I managed finances obsessively. We planted 100 acres, made 30,000 profit. That 30,000 became 60,000 the next year, then 124,000, then 191,000. Compound growth through reinvestment and expansion. 16 years later, we managed 2,000 acres, employ 12 people, generate 1.8 million annually, net worth 6.2 million. How did we do it? 1. We started. Everyone talks about someday. We started immediately. With broken equipment and no experience. Starting imperfectly beats waiting for perfect conditions. 2. We learned constantly. Read everything, asked questions, attended workshops, made mistakes, learned from them, never stopped learning. 3. We reinvested everything. First 5 years, we lived on almost nothing. Every dollar went back into operation, bought better equipment, more land, built foundation for growth. 4. We worked harder than everyone. 18-hour days were normal. 7 days weekly. For years, nobody outworked us. 5. We partnered effectively. Division of labor, trust, mutual respect. Neither could have succeeded alone. Together we thrived. 6. We were patient, didn't expect overnight success, built over 16 years. Steady compound growth beats trying to get rich quick. 7. We stayed focused, didn't diversify into unrelated businesses, didn't waste money on luxuries, focused entirely on building farming operation. Focus wins. The broken tractors that seemed like liability were actually asset. Forced us to learn mechanical skills, forced us to be resourceful, forced us to start small and build carefully. If we'd inherited working equipment and money, we might have been careless, wasted resources, failed faster. Instead, starting with nothing forced discipline. Every dollar mattered, every decision mattered. That discipline built successful operation. To anyone inheriting farm or considering farming, start with what you have, learn what you don't know, work harder than everyone, reinvest profits, be patient, build steadily. 16 years ago, we had 300 acres and 2 broken tractors. Today, we have successful agricultural enterprise worth millions. The tractors are in our shop, restored, honored. Reminders that everything valuable starts somewhere small, often broken, always requiring work to build into something great. That's farming. That's business. That's life. Start broken, build strong, grow steady, win eventually. The article generated thousands of responses. Young farmers inspired, established farmers impressed. Even non-farmers recognize the universal principles. Start with what you have, work with what you've got, build through effort and time. Sarah and Michael proved it worked. 300 acres and 2 broken tractors became multi-million-dollar operation, not through luck, through work, not through inheritance, through building, not through shortcuts, through patience. 16 years, from broken to built, from nothing to millions, from uncertain to established. That's the Rodriguez story. That's what starting broken and building strong looks like. That's proof that humble beginnings can lead to extraordinary outcomes. 300 acres and 2 broken tractors. Years later, farm worth millions. All because 2 siblings decided to try, to work, to build, to persist. The broken tractors started it. The work sustained it. The patience built it. The 16 years proved it. From inheritance to empire, from broken to brilliant, from uncertain to unstoppable. That's the Rodriguez way. That's the power of starting small and building strong. That's what happens when you work harder than everyone and invest smarter than everyone and persist longer than everyone. 300 acres, 2 broken tractors, 16 years, $6 million. The math works. The story proves it. The lesson lives forever. Start with what you have. Build what you can. Time and effort compound into success. Sarah and Michael Rodriguez proved it. Their farm stands as monument to what's possible when you start broken and refuse to quit. The end. The detailed rebuild. How Michael saved $14,000. Week 1 of tractor repair. Michael had never rebuilt tractor engine. had rebuilt truck engines. But tractors were different, older, simpler in some ways, more complicated in others. The '64 John Deere sat in the shed, engine completely seized, hadn't run in 8 years. Michael pulled spark plugs, poured Marvel mystery oil into cylinders, let it soak 3 days. Day 4, tried to turn engine manually, wouldn't budge, pistons frozen solid in cylinders. Michael researched forums, YouTube videos, old repair manuals, learned that forcing frozen pistons could crack cylinders, needed patience. Week 2, more penetrating oil, more soaking, more waiting. Day 10, engine turned slightly, progress. Day 12, engine turned freely, pistons freed. Michael pulled the head, examined cylinders, scored but salvageable, pistons worn but usable with new rings. Parts needed: piston rings, $48, head gasket set, $36, valve cover gasket, $12, carburetor rebuild kit, $28, oil and filter, $18, fuel filter, $8, air filter, $14, spark plugs, $16, total parts for John Deere, $180. Week 3, Michael disassembled everything, cleaned every part, some with wire brush, some with solvent, some with sandblasting borrowed from neighbor, found worn valve guides, bought used guides from salvage yard, $22, installed them himself, saved $140 versus new, found cracked fuel line, made new line from bulk hose and fittings, $8, saved $42 versus pre-made. Week 4, reassembly, everything torqued properly. Michael followed service manual exactly, double-checked everything. Week 5, first start attempt, engine cranked, didn't catch, adjusted carburetor, tried again, coughed, died, tried again, caught, ran rough, adjusted timing, smoothed out, running. The '64 John Deere lived again, total cost, $212 in parts, $8 in borrowed tool rental. $220 total, used '64 John Deere worth, approximately $6,000 running. Michael's labor, 5 weeks at 18 hours daily, 630 hours. If paid $20 per hour, $12,600 value. Total value created, $18,600. Total invested, $220. Return on investment, 8,460%. But Michael wasn't done. The '72 International needed work. The International had different problems. Engine ran but hydraulics dead. Couldn't lift implements. Useless for farming. Michael diagnosed hydraulic system. Pump was shot. Lines were cracked. Cylinder seals leaked. Parts needed. Used hydraulic pump, salvage, $95. Bulk hydraulic hose, $64. Hydraulic fittings, assortment, $38. Cylinder seal kit, $27. Hydraulic fluid, 5 gallons, $42. Filters, $18. Total parts for International, $284. Week 6 through 8, Michael rebuilt hydraulic system, removed old pump, installed salvaged pump, fabricated new hydraulic lines, replaced every seal. Testing revealed leak in cylinder. Michael disassembled, found scored piston, borrowed brake cylinder hone, polished cylinder bore, replaced seals, reassembled. Week 8, hydraulics worked. Tested with Uncle's old disc, lifted smoothly, held position, performed perfectly. The '72 International lived again. Total cost, $284. Used '72 International worth, approximately $6,000 running. Michael's labor, 3 weeks at 18 hours daily, 378 hours. If paid $20 per hour, $7,560 value. Total value created, $13,560. Total invested, $284. Return on investment, 4,668%. Combined tractor restoration, total invested, $504. Total value created, $32,160. Net savings, $31,656. That savings made everything else possible. Without Michael's mechanical ability and willingness to work, the farm would have failed before starting. But more than money, Michael learned. Each problem taught him. Each repair built skills. By end of 8 weeks, Michael could diagnose and fix almost any tractor problem. That skill became invaluable over next 16 years. When equipment broke, and it did frequently, Michael fixed it. Saved thousands annually in repair costs. The broken tractors weren't just obstacles, were education. Forced Michael to learn mechanical skills that would serve him entire farming career. Sarah watched the transformation. Her brother went from construction worker who knew basics to skilled mechanic who could repair anything. You could get job as heavy equipment mechanic, she told him after International was running. I could, but I'd rather farm. Use these skills to keep our operation running cheaply. That mindset, using skills to reduce costs rather than monetizing them elsewhere, was key to their success. Every dollar saved on repairs was dollar available for expansion. The first year in detail. 100 acres of learning. Year 1 wasn't just farming 100 acres, was learning everything from zero. Sarah and Michael had theoretical knowledge from research, but doing it was different. April 23, 2007, first day of planting. Michael on the 64 John Deere, Sarah operating the planter. Uncle's old 4-row planter, bought in 1978, ancient but functional. First row planted crooked. Sarah couldn't keep straight line, overcorrected, made S-curve, 50 yards of crooked corn. Michael stopped, showed Sarah how to pick distant landmark, aim for it, ignore tractor's position, focus on destination, second row straighter, third row better. By 10th row, Sarah had it, straight rows, proper depth, correct spacing. But slow. Modern 12-row planter could plant 100 acres in 2 days. Their 4-row took 12 days. Neighbors watched, some helped, some mocked. Look at those city kids trying to farm. They'll quit by June. Sarah heard the whispers, made her determined. We'll prove them wrong. May brought first crisis. 20 acres planted, rain forecast. If they didn't finish before rain, planting window would close. Too late for optimal yields. Sarah and Michael worked 22-hour days. Planted by tractor lights. Sarah operating planter. Michael filling hoppers. Switching roles when one got too tired. Finished May 7th. Exhausted. But 100 acres planted. Then came cultivation. Corn emerged. Looked good. Then weeds emerged. Looked aggressive. Uncle's old cultivator was 6-row. Could cultivate faster than they could plant, but required precise driving. Too close to corn, destroyed plants. Too far, missed weeds. Michael drove. Sarah walked behind watching. Yelled when he got too close. Hand signals when he drifted too far. First 40 acres took 4 days. Lots of mistakes. Some destroyed corn. Some missed weeds. Next 40 acres took 3 days. Fewer mistakes. Learning. Final 20 acres took 1 day. Getting good at it. June brought heat. Drought concerns. Corn needed water. No irrigation. Just rain. Weather controlled everything. June 17th. 3 inches of rain. Fields flooded briefly. Corn recovered. Perfect timing. July brought rapid growth. Corn went from ankle high to head high. Satisfying. Visible progress daily. But also brought insects. Corn borers. Rootworms. Sarah researched. Learned about integrated pest management. They scouted fields daily. Found economic threshold had been reached. Needed to spray. Problem. They didn't have sprayer. Renting one cost $800. Buying cheap used one cost $2,000. They rented. Couldn't afford to buy yet. Sprayed 100 acres. Cost $1,200 total, including chemicals. August brought pollination. Critical time. Drought during pollination reduces yields dramatically. They watched weather obsessively. August 4th through 8th, perfect conditions, warm days, cool nights, morning dew, optimal pollination. Sarah and Michael felt hopeful. September brought harvest anxiety. Corn matured. Neighbors started combining. Sarah and Michael waited. Their combine still didn't work. Michael spent 3 weeks working on it. Uncle's 1976 combine, mechanical, pre-electronics, simpler than modern combines but still complex. Problems found. Belts worn out, $82 to replace all, chain broken, $36, bearings shot, $44, auger cylinder damaged, $168 salvage replacement, concaves worn, couldn't afford new, $800. Cleaned existing. Total, $330 to make barely functional. September 28th, first day combining. Nerve-wracking. Michael operating combine. Sarah on tractor pulling grain wagon. Combine worked. Barely. Slow. Inefficient, but worked. First 100 bushels harvested. Michael dumped into wagon. Sarah drove to elevator. Sold. Got check for $340. First farm income ever. They celebrated that night. $340 represented hope. Proof they could do this. But celebration was brief. 99 acres remained. If weather turned wet, they'd lose crop. Had to finish fast. October was race against time. Combine worked but broke daily. Michael fixed it nightly. Sarah drove wagon constantly. Grain elevator to field and back. 12 trips daily. October 14th, finished combining. 100 acres complete. Total yield, 13,120 bushels. Average 131 bushels per acre. County average was 165. They were below average, but for first-year farmers with ancient equipment, 131 was acceptable. Gross revenue, $44,608, corn at $340. Input costs, $14,000. Profit, $30,608. Sarah and Michael sat at kitchen table October 15th looking at bank statement. $30,608 deposited. We did it, Sarah whispered. We actually made money farming. Michael looked at his hands. Calloused, scarred, dirty. Worth it. They'd worked 18-hour days for 7 months. Learned entire farming operation from zero. Made profit first year. Most new farmers lose money first few years. Sarah and Michael profited because zero equipment cost, fixed broken tractors themselves, minimal overhead, lived cheaply, did all labor themselves, managed finances carefully. That $30,000 profit wasn't just money. Was validation. Proof they could farm successfully. The second year, scaling to 250 acres. Year 2 began with decision. How much to farm? With $30,000 profit, they could afford to farm maybe 200 acres. But their equipment couldn't handle it fast enough. Planting 200 acres with 4-row planter would take 30 days. Too long. Planting window only 25 days optimal. They needed better planter. Used 8-row planters cost $12,000 to $15,000. Exactly what they had in profit. Sarah ran numbers obsessively, calculated ROI on different scenarios. Scenario 1, farm 100 acres again. Keep same equipment. Profit approximately $30,000 again. Safe, slow growth. Scenario 2, buy 8-row planter for $12,000. Farm 250 acres. Profit approximately $75,000 if all goes well. Risky. Fast growth. Scenario 3, farm 150 acres. Buy 6-row planter for $8,000. Moderate growth. Moderate risk. Sarah presented options to Michael. What do you think we should do? Michael considered. We didn't come here to play it safe. We came here to build something. I say buy the 8-row. Farm 250, go big. That's all our profit. If we fail, we're broke again. If we succeed, we make $75,000, can buy more equipment, farm more land, build faster. Sarah agreed. They bought 8-row planter, paid $11,800, left them $1,200 in reserve. March 2008, planted 250 acres in 9 days, 5 times faster than year 1. 8-row planter was game changer, but 250 acres required more inputs. Seed, $15,000. Fertilizer, $10,000. Chemicals, $5,000. Fuel, $3,700. Total, $33,700, more than twice year 1. Scary commitment. If crop failed, they'd lose everything. Sarah managed cash flow carefully, paid for inputs over time. Seed in March, fertilizer in April, chemicals in June. Spread costs across months. They borrowed short-term from supply company. Pay after harvest. 5% interest. Only way to afford all inputs without cash up front. Summer 2008, corn looked good. Better than year 1. Better varieties. Better timing. Learning showed. July brought drought. 15 days without rain. Corn stressed. Leaves curled. Yields threatened. Sarah and Michael couldn't control weather. Just watched anxiously. Prayed for rain. July 23rd, 3.6 inches of rain. Perfect timing. Corn recovered. Went on to full maturity. September harvest. Yields averaged 145 bushels per acre. 14 bushels better than year one. Improvement from learning and better management. 250 acres at 145 bushels, 36,250 bushels. Corn price, $4.20, higher than year one. Market was favorable. Gross revenue, $152,250. Minus inputs, $33,700. Minus short-term borrowing interest, $1,685. Profit, $116,865. Nearly quadruple year one profit. Scaling worked. Sarah and Michael paid themselves $40,000 to live on. First real money they'd taken. Year one they'd lived on Sarah's remaining savings. Remaining profit, $76,865. All reinvested. Bought better combine, $42,000. Their old combine barely survived second harvest. Needed upgrade. Bought better tractor, $24,000. Added to their 2 running tractors. Now had 3. Reserve fund, $10,865. Emergency cushion. Total assets now. Land, 300 acres at $1,200. Values rising. $360,000. Equipment, approximately $90,000. Cash reserves, $10,865. Total, $460,865. In 2 years, they'd gone from $350,000 inherited, mostly land, to $460,000 net worth. More importantly, they'd proven the model worked. Scale intelligently. Reinvest profits. Equipment improves efficiency. Efficiency enables more scaling. Compound growth through reinvestment. Same principle Warren Buffett used. Applied to farming. The crisis year, 2009. Year 3 brought first major test. Economic recession. Financial crisis. Everything collapsed. Corn prices fell to $370 from $420 previous year. Down 12%. Input costs didn't fall. Seed up 8%. Fertilizer up 12%. Chemicals up 6%. Margin compression. Perfect storm. Sarah ran numbers in January 2009. If they farmed 300 acres at similar yields with worse prices and higher costs, gross revenue, $172,050, 46,500 bushels at $370. Input costs, $53,000, inflation. Profit, $119,050 good profit. But less than year 2 despite farming more acres. Scary trend. Many farmers went broke in '09. Couldn't adapt to squeezed margins. Sarah and Michael had advantage. Low overhead. They owned equipment outright. No payments. They did all labor themselves. No employees. They lived cheaply. Minimal expenses. Fixed costs for year. Less than $30,000 all in, including living expenses. Variable costs. $53,000 for inputs. Total needed to break even. $83,000. They'd gross $172,000. Break even was $83,000. Cushion of $89,000. But many neighbors had different math. Equipment payments, $30,000 to $50,000 annually. Hired labor, $40,000 to $60,000. High living expenses, $60,000 plus. Fixed costs, $130,000 to $170,000. Variable costs, similar to Sarah and Michael. Those farmers needed $160,000 to $200,000 just to break even. At '09 prices, they couldn't make it. Foreclosures followed. Sarah and Michael survived because they'd kept fixed costs low, owned everything, did everything themselves. Year 3 proceeded as projected, farmed 300 acres, yields 155, improved, prices 370, down. Profit, $119,050. Enough to continue growing but not rapidly. They bought small 40-acre parcel adjacent to property. Owner was foreclosing. Bank wanted $112,000. Sarah and Michael paid cash. Conservative move. Slow growth, but growth nonetheless. Now owned 340 acres total. The expansion, decision. Year 4, 2010, brought opportunity. Neighbor announced retirement, selling 400 acres. Asking price, 1,200,000, 3,000 per acre. Fair market value, but seemed impossibly expensive to Sarah and Michael. They'd saved $180,000 from 3 years of profitable farming. Not nearly enough. Meeting with Farm Credit Services loan officer. We want to buy Johnson's 400 acres. We have $180,000 down payment. Need to borrow rest. Officer reviewed their financials. 3 years profitable, good yields, excellent management, low debt. I can approve $700,000 at 6.5%. That's limit for your experience level and collateral. $700,000 plus $180,000 saved. $880,000. Still short $320,000. Sarah had idea. What if seller finances the difference? We pay him directly. He gets 7% interest, better than bank CD rates. We get the land. Michael negotiated with retiring farmer. Johnson was 68, wanted steady income stream for retirement. Agreed to finance $320,000 at 7% over 10 years. Annual payment to Johnson, $45,857. Annual payment to Farm Credit, $56,229. Total annual debt service, $102,086. Massive commitment. If they couldn't service debt, they'd lose everything. Sarah analyzed carefully. 700 acres farmed efficiently should generate. Conservative estimate. Yields, 155 bushels per acre, their demonstrated average. Price, $375, slightly above current depressed prices. Gross, $407,813. Input costs, $98,000, scaled appropriately. Labor, $35,000, would need to hire 1 person. Equipment costs, $42,000. Depreciation, fuel, maintenance. Debt service, $102,086. Total costs, $277,086. Profit, $130,727, enough to pay themselves $70,000 and reinvest $60,000. Workable, but risky. If yields dropped or prices fell further, they could be in trouble. They decided to do it. Couldn't build big operation without taking calculated risks. This was their moment. Deal closed March 2010. Rodriguez operation now 700 acres. Debt, $1,020,000. But land value, $2.1 million, 3,000 per acre average times 700 acres. Net worth, approximately $1,300,000, 2.1 million assets minus $1,020,000 debt plus equipment value. First year farming 700 acres was hard. Hired David Martinez, age 22, recent Ag college graduate, paid $35,000. Good kid, hard worker, wanted to learn farming, bought more equipment. Larger planter, second combine, more implements. Total investment, $180,000. How did they afford it? Borrowed additional $180,000 equipment loan from Farm Credit. Total debt now, $1,200,000. Scary number, but necessary for scale. Year 4 results, 700 acres farmed. Yields, 160 bushels per acre. At county average now, 112,000 bushels produced. Price, $4. Market recovery. Gross revenue, $448,000. All costs including debt service, $257,000. Net profit, $191,000, better than projected. Sarah and Michael paid themselves $70,000. Invested $121,000. Bought adjacent 40 acres for $112,000 cash. Now owned 740 acres. The steady growth years, 5 through 10 years. 5 through 10 were steady compound growth. No dramatic moments, just consistent execution. Each year, farm all owned land plus rent some additional, achieve at or above county average yields, manage costs carefully, make modest profit, reinvest most profit, pay down debt gradually, buy small land parcels when available. Year-by-year progression. Year 5, 2011. Owned land, 740 acres. Rented land, 160 acres. Total farmed, 900 acres. Profit, $214,000. Bought 60 acres, $192,000, sir. Year 6, 2012. Owned land, 800 acres. Rented, 200 acres. Total farmed, 1,000 acres. Profit, $187,000. Drought year, lower yields. Paid down debt, 100,000. Reserve building, 87,000. Year 7, 2013. Owned land, 800 acres. Rented, 280 acres. Total farmed, 1,080 acres. Profit, 292,000. Bought 80 acres, 200 immersion. 80,000. Reserve, 12,000. Year 8, 2014. Owned land, 880 acres. Rented, 320 acres. Total farmed, 1,200 acres. Profit, 314,000. Bought 120 acres. 420,000. Borrowed 200,000. Paid themselves, 114,000. Year 9, 2015. Owned land, 1,000 acres. Rented, 400 acres. Total farmed, 1,400 acres. Profit, 378,000. Debt paydown, 200,000. Equipment upgrade, 178,000. Year 10, 2016. Owned land, 1,040 acres. Bought 40 more. Rented, 460 acres. Total farmed, 1,500 acres. Profit, 422,000. Debt paydown, 250,000. Reserve building, 172,000 by end of year 10. Owned land, 1,040 acres. Land value, 4.16 million, 4,000 per acre average. Equipment value, 600,000. Total assets, 4.76 million. Remaining debt, 860,000. Net worth, 3.9 million. In 10 years, they'd gone from inheriting 350,000 to building 3.9 million. Average annual growth, 38.7%. More impressive, they'd done it during recession, drought, and market volatility. Survived what killed many farmers. How? Discipline, low overhead, conservative management, gradual scaling, patience. No dramatic moves, no risky speculation, just steady, smart, disciplined farming. The transformation completed, years 11 through 16. Final 6 years were about professionalization, moving from family operation to real business. Year 11, 2017. Incorporated as Rodriguez Agricultural Enterprises, LLC. Professional structure. Hired accountant. Proper payroll. Legal entity. Sarah became CEO. Michael became COO. David Martinez promoted to farm manager. Hired 3 additional employees. Started custom farming division. Farmed for other landowners who didn't want to farm themselves. Generated additional revenue with existing equipment. Year 12, 2018. Owned land, 1,100 acres. Custom farmed, 400 acres. Total managed, 1,500 acres. Employees, 6. Revenue, 1.2 million. Profit, 480,000. Net worth, 4.6 million. Year 13, 2019. Owned, 1,160 acres. Custom, 600 acres. Total, 1,760 acres. Employees, 8. Revenue, 1.4 million. Profit, 520,000. Net worth, 5.3 million. Year 14, 2020. COVID year. Commodity prices surged. Agriculture was essential. They thrived. Owned, 1,200 acres. Custom, 700 acres. Total, 1,900 acres. Employees, 10. Revenue, 1.6 million. Profit, 600,000. Net worth, 5.8 million. Year 15, 2021. Owned, 1,200 acres. No land purchased. Consolidated operations. Custom, 800 acres. Total, 2,000 acres. Employees, 12. Revenue, 1.8 million. Profit, 640,000. Net worth, 6.2 million. Year 16, 2022. Same land holdings. Private equity offer, 8.5 million. Declined. Continued operations. Net worth, 6.4 million. Land appreciation. March 2023 marked 16 years since inheritance. Sarah was 47. Michael was 43. What started with 300 acres and 2 broken tractors had become $6.4 million agricultural enterprise managing 2,000 acres with 12 employees. They'd built it through work ethic, 18-hour days for years, mechanical skills, Michael fixing everything, financial discipline, Sarah managing every dollar, smart reinvestment, every profit dollar back into growth, patience, 16 years of steady building. Partnership, trusting each other completely. No shortcuts, no windfalls, no luck. Just compound growth through reinvestment and effort. The broken tractors that started it all sat in their shop, restored, honored. Symbols of beginning, from broken to brilliant, from nothing to millions, from uncertain to unstoppable. That's the Rodriguez story. That's what 16 years of work builds. That's proof that starting small with determination beats starting big with debt. 300 acres, 2 broken tractors, $14,000, 16 years. Result, $6.4 million. The math works. The story proves it. The lesson lives forever. Start with what you have. Fix what's broken. Build what matters. Time compounds everything. Sarah and Michael Rodriguez proved it. Their farm stands as monument to power of patient, disciplined, focused effort over time. That's farming. That's business. That's life. Start broken. Build strong. Grow steady. Win eventually. The end.